Okay, here we go. So first of all, welcome everybody. So thank you for the audience. Thank you for joining us, and for my panelists as well. Thank you for being here in Miami. Another GCCM Americas. So yeah, first session. So let's go into it. What are we going to talk about? The role and the value of data centers, peering, and cables investment strategies to meet the current and future digital demand in the region. Now, that's a mouthful. I don't know who comes up with these sentences, probably me. But before I get into it, my name is Eric. I would give the word quickly to my panel, and I'm very honored all having you. And maybe, Alejandro, if I can may start with you, please.
Yes. Well, my name is Alejandro Silvestre. I am based right across the street. I'm in charge of the office here in the subsidiary here in the US from Telecom Argentina. Telecom Argentina is the largest operator in Argentina and one of the largest one in LATAM. I'm specifically in charge of data center, developing the data center strategy for Telecom Argentina in South America, and also the peering strategy as well.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
Good having you. Over to Takahiro.
Hi, Takahiro Sumimoto. I'm SVP submarine cable business of NTT Limited based in UK. And I also serve as CEO of Pacific Crossing, and I'm based in California. I'm in charge of the entire submarine cable business. I'm head of submarine cable business of NTT Limited. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Takahiro. Ulysses?
Good morning, everybody. Ulysses Pin. I'm a partner with Morgan, Lewis & Bocuse, a law firm in Washington. My area of practice is telecommunications in general and throughout the Americas. In particular, I have a very large number of clients in the submarine cable space as well as in the data center space, from hyperscalers to competitive entrants. So very nice to meet you, and thank you for being here.
Thank you. Good having you. Ricardo?
Hello, good morning. Ricardo Franco. I'm with Sienna, and we connect the world through oceans and clouds. So that's a catchy tagline, which is kind of cool. Subsea, data centers, very close together. So what I do in Sienna, helping the customers build their systems, and we work closely with the region, specifically look after the Americas region. But if you look Americas, it's transatlantic, transpacific, but a lot of CALA, right? A lot of LATAM. So I work closely with the guys in LATAM, just helping these customers that are outside, should be here listening to us. There's one more. Thanks for joining, my friend. And hope you guys enjoy the talk.
Okay, thank you so much, Ricardo. Justin?
Yeah, Justin Melnikoff. I'm a board member at Mox Networks. We're a global telecommunications company. We have routes all throughout the United States, collecting into Asia and working with a couple of the fine panelists up here, connecting into their home countries and riding on top submarine networks, building our own fiber domestically, and helping to connect everybody from small individual carriers to hyperscalers.
Okay, cool. Well, gentlemen, again, thank you for being here and having you. Getting into it, and Ricardo, if I may start with you. I mean, we're talking about the role of and the value of the data centers and everything to it. So, what would you say and what can you tell us a little bit just to set the pace? The current data center and peering landscape. What are the key drivers? What are the challenges? What are the opportunities? What are the latest developments? What do you see? And what is, for instance, the main demand? I mean, especially for the people in the audience here who were really interested in, hey, what's going on in there? So what can you tell us?
So it's been busy globally, right? So I think everybody in the panel has a role to play in different aspects. But what we see is the big driver is really connectivity. I mean, it's not new. It's been growing steadily for the past
over and over again.
40% CAGR. So it's been up there. It hasn't slowed down. You could argue to slow down to 35, but CAGR 35 is still pretty aggressive. So
a lot of industry would be jealous. Huh?
Oh my gosh, 35 a year. Oh yeah.
Where can I sign?
I wish my portfolio of stocks would be 35 CAGR, right? So yeah. But what we see is connectivity, but also diversity, right? So also being able to connect to different places or having alternative routes. So we're seeing in region is quite a few announcements the past couple of weeks and past couple of months of new cables coming live, right? So with those cables, we really see more options for customers, for carriers, for anybody trying to get into that ecosystem. And really the driver is getting more people connected, right? So eyeballs, right? The OTTs or the hyperscalers, as they prefer to be called, they really want to have access to all of those eyeballs to monetize their assets. So, and that's what we're seeing happening in this region, which hasn't been the case in many years, right? It has been a slow to grow region, and now it's pretty active. So, but again, drivers, getting connectivity, getting content, and now there is the whole discussion about AI, which is going to be a big deal in the future. So, yeah, but getting people connected, that's a big thing now.
Okay. Alejandro? I mean, from an operator point of view?
Well, we are seeing that we are changing fast. And unfortunately for
an operator changing fast.
No, the
Say
business,
again.
The business is changing fast.
There you go.
We are trying to adapt.
Yeah.
Actually, I had a call with one customer. One was the biggest customer of our data center who contract and space in our data center that we had been building for almost a year. Mm-hmm. And today he changed the strategy, and he's going to install different type of equipment. So we will need to readapt the case to the new IA equipment that he's bringing back, that a year ago he wasn't thinking about the uses of that data center. So, and we had to adapt to that. Yeah.
Not easy.
No, when I go back to the office, I will have a ton of work to do internally. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It was a bad news for us. It's good because it will bring new revenue, but yeah, absolutely. It's a big headache. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Justin.
No, and
Here's your thought.
I think Alejandro brought up a really good point on the customers themselves are morphing and changing in different ways. And they're doing this on the fly as they try to figure out whether it's AI or whatever their driving case might be. You know, we've had similar examples where, hey, we're building a route for a specific customer. And then all of a sudden they're saying, hey, by the way, we need to now actually go over here. Mm-hmm. Or we'll get a call out of the blue and it's not even us outbound talking to people. They'll call us and say, hey, by the way, I now need that route. It's like, well, I've been trying to talk to you about that route and your possible need for it for this many years on its diversity and its different things, you know, no different than the route we built to Atlanta or what we're doing now with a bunch of Ciena equipment and lighting up our legacy routes in the United States. We're having people now talk to us about, hey, you're lighting this route in Ohio, you're lighting this route in Atlanta, whatever it might be. And they never would have been on our radar before, but because of these new driving forces and their new edicts internally about how they're doing, whether it's the availability zone or whether it's something else, it's really driving a whole new segment of demand that we're really excited about, and how it's going to continue to conform with everybody on this panel and otherwise, and how we're going to meet that demand set, I think is going to be the interesting thing for the future.
Mm-hmm. That's where the challenges are.
And we don't know it yet. No. You know, that's what I think the exciting part too is going, how are we going to meet a demand set we don't know yet? As they're trying to figure it out on the fly, we're trying to respond and collaborate. And that's what makes working with folks like this great. You know, that we can collaborate and we can build really bespoke solutions.
So are you telling me, as a company, especially Mox Networks, which we all know, to be agile and to be really great in your target time to market? Those are key things for your end customers.
Huge, because, you know, if you're a massive dinosaur of a company, you're not going to be able to respond quickly enough to these guys. And if you don't have those strong relationships with your partners to be able to deliver these solutions, you know, the customer is going to be screaming at you. As I know, all of us on this panel have had customers and partners screaming at us. Being able to perform, though, and be able to move nimbly has proven that much more valuable, where I think the customer itself is putting that much more value on it, instead of, hey, I'm not going to get fired for the old adage, I'm not going to get fired for hiring IBM. Well, I think they're moving into that direction of, hey, I want people that can perform, that are willing to put their name behind it and say, hey, I'm going to get this done for you.
Okay.
And I think that's proven a lot of value.
With high SLAs.
Oh, it's got a high echelon and a high barrier to entry, but you know, if you can do it, it's proven very valuable.
Talking about another challenge, right?
Yes.
Takahiro, from your point of view, give us your overview. Where are the challenges, the opportunities, and where do you see the main demand coming from?
All right. Main demands coming from OTT customers, and we are extremely busy in constructing new cables in the Indo-Pacific zone. Currently, we are facing the capacity shortage everywhere.
You have to hurry up. You know this, because the demand it's pulling.
There's a waiting line, and you know, the questions are, when are you going? When it will completed? Yeah.
Did you book already the ships? You know, the ocean guys. You know, already.
Right.
10 years
you know, customers are fighting for the remaining capacity, and we are fighting for available vessels to construct the new cables. And currently, we are constructing MIST cable between in India and Singapore. And then intra-Asia, it's Apricot between Singapore, Indonesia, Tokyo, Japan. And then Japan and the US, we're constructing Juno, Juno, Juno cable. And we are upgrading the existing ones because otherwise we can't meet the demands.
Okay,
that's the status.
Thank you, Ulysses. I mean, you're the different duck here, right? With all due respect. I mean, we're talking all about the guys who deliver, and then on the operational side, make sure that everything is delivered to the end customers. From your point of view, being on the law side with Morgan Lewis, what do you see in the telco industry, especially when this digital transformation is going on? The demand is huge. It is, as we just heard from the gentleman, it is, they don't have the time, the people, and anything, to even catch up with the market demand. What do you see from your, and maybe you can
I see three things, right?
Yep.
Number one is obviously we have these geopolitics that we're seeing, right? The world is being divided into east and west to a certain extent, and we may end up probably with a balkanization of the internet if things continue the way they are. I mean, some of the systems that Takahiro is doing, many of them are just to avoid, the South China Sea and things like that. Number one. The second thing I see terribly is very long periods for approval, particularly submarine cables. Very long reviews by the national security agencies, by what is called Team Telecom, where you can talk about lead times of 12 months. It's not only securing the vessel and securing the construction window and making sure that your plan of work works.
Oh, the vessel you need to book now to have it start in 8 years.
Exactly. And now, and moreover, whether you're going to be landing in the US or in certain other jurisdictions, other countries are picking up. Singapore is now getting very up to speed on national security issues. And a third issue that I'm seeing, particularly on the data center side, is probably data localization. It's not only that the companies and the OTTs or others want to have the content close to the user, but because of privacy issues, not in the US, because the US is the anti-privacy country, if I will, but in South America, the Caribbean, and particularly Europe, where you cannot export data out of the continent or without approval or without consent, or in certain
Same
nations.
in the Middle East, actually.
Exactly. You need to have data centers and the content close to the where the user is located, and regulation actually plays a big role in forcing the construction and the implementation of new data centers in it.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen, and if you can go to Alejandro first. We just tipped on it that everything is really going super fast, and how do you think, or how can Telecom Argentina actually face the speed of the market demand? Because working harder, that's not good enough for end customers.
Very difficult, especially for data center, because it takes 2 years to build a data center, and sometimes the customer,
if everything goes well.
Yeah, if everything goes well,
Yeah.
in places like Latin America, it even takes longer. And usually the customer comes and would like to have a full megawatt facility or full megawatt cage within 6 months, or 8 months. This is impossible, and they would like the things immediately. So we had to think ahead and prepare. So we had to think ahead, and the problem is that we had a huge commitment in capex and in time. The time to market of the data center business is long. So I had to sell internally and commit a ton of capex in a thing that I am planning to sell in 2 years, and the OTTs probably don't want to commit for that time long. They want it now, and perhaps they tell you something that they want in 6 months, and when the time arrives, they would like double of that, the one that they commit. So it's a very difficult business to be, but that's fun. That's the fun part.
CapEx would be one of the reasons how we could, let's say, or operators or suppliers could, let's say, reach the goal of increasing the target time to market.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Takahiro?
As for us, we need to kind of minimize the order from the order to activation. That's what we are doing. In case of PC1 cable, Trans-Pacific one, we have very small team. So if customer orders, perhaps our situation that we are very quick in activating. And as for other cables as well, our team is diligently working in quick activation, and also construction. We may be lucky because we are now constructing the Trans-Pacific cable, and we were kind of surprisingly fast in obtaining the permitting, so it's on schedule, and the new one will be completed by the end of 2024. So currently we have a capacity supply limit already, but we can provide more capacity in the market soon. That's the status.
Because we know what's going on. We know what's going to happen. But I mean, everything is data.
Yes.
We know we need another 2 zillion data centers around the world. Like Ulysses said, the data protection, from a regulator point of view, more and more needs to be in the country, stay in the country, the cloud in the country. So that's one thing. So we know what's going on. So on the financial side, actually I'm not talking about the 2000s when we had the data center crash, right? We were a bit too early, but now we know what's sort of heading towards us. I mean, growing 35% year on. I mean, what are we talking about? From an investment point of view, it must be like people knocking on your door. Can we please invest in your business model? I mean, shouldn't that be the case? Meaning that even if we might be a bit late, whatever, and I know COVID, the pandemic, changed a lot of things, but overnight, connectivity was still there. I mean, we could work, we could move on. So we can deliver. The fact is only that the demand is more and more tight, more pressure on it. So you talked about it already, Justin, but you have your customers calling you, but I want to order today, but I want to have it yesterday, right? So how do you cope with it? What's
It's actually now trying to help the customer go the other way and actually plan. It's trying to get those customers to let's have a 2-year plan. Let's have a 3-year plan. Let's have a 5-year plan. And them getting through,
how do they react to that?
It's difficult because they're unwilling and not built for that. They're built to be a technology company.
Yeah.
And as a technology company, you're ever changing, you're ever morphing into what's coming next. So they don't necessarily know, and they have their own internal silos. So trying to help break that mold and trying to say, look, let's collaborate so we can be prepared, give you the price points you need to be successful, because that's a cost of doing business for them.
Mm-hmm.
That is not a revenue generating source of money.
Mm-hmm.
That is something that just costs business. Yeah. So let us help partner. Let us help be part of the solution, because rather than you calling me with a fire drill or calling Takahiro with a fire drill and I need to have, terabits lit tomorrow.
Yep.
Let's plan this out. Let's make sure the equipment's in place, the cable's in place, the data center's ready. And if you can do that in a staged environment and bringing everybody together, your price points are going to be better. Your lead times are going to be consistent. We'll be able to acquire materials accordingly, versus this is always this fire drill mentality. And, it even goes back to the funding sources that everybody I think here was talking about, and going, what is the macroeconomic scale of what everybody's looking at and how you can start to get these price points down? Because with rising inflation and the cost of doing business, things are getting out of control and they're no longer hitting the price points that a lot of the customers had. So being able to have that honest discussion and pre-planning to prevent those outcomes, I think can be a big benefit to what everybody's going through.
I would like to stress on that, because it's very important. Some of these technology companies, they number one, it's a cost center for them. It's not a revenue maker, but they have this mentality in their DNA that if I throw money at something, something's going to happen.
Yes.
And that is not necessarily the case. You need the stars to align. You need the plan of work to align. You need the permits to be there. You need things to be there. And unless people are partnering with, negotiations get really tense, because one thinks I mean, no, I mean that I am the 800-pound gorilla. I can make it happen. Well, there's something that money cannot buy, right? I mean, time cannot be bought by money. So it has to be a plan, and it has to be a partnership between the customer and the supplier so that they can work together to make it happen.
No, but you're right, because if expectations aren't aligned, we get these arguments that I know many of us have been a part of with people, and you look at it and go, look, I don't want to be contentious. I want this to be a benefit. I can't change the state of Rhode Island and have them do something different. I can't change the tribal commission of this place to let us land a cable.
The Army Corps of Engineers, things like that. It is not going to happen, right?
No, exactly. No matter how much money you throw at it, no matter how many, senators or congressmen you can talk to, some things aren't going to change.
And this is a 25-year agreement, and if you throw more money at it, it's not going to start any sooner. So we need to make sure that we have not the 25 years from from installation. It has to be all the 2-3 years that it takes to get there.
Right, and I think it's also all of us in the room and listening. If everybody is consistent in helping to drive that message, I think we'll eventually get all the customers there with us.
Yeah.
So, but I'm curious, how on the regulator side? I mean, we also talked about permits and so on. I mean, it can take years to get the right permits and whatsoever. And is the regulator aware of that? And what can we expect from those guys?
Well, let me try to
government bodies.
let me try to answer your question, saying it depends. It depends. Some are, and some regulators are actually understand business and actually can do things. Some others are just on their mission, right? I mean, if you talk about national security, I have heard it straight from the government saying we're not going to compromise national security because of speed. Period. That's a mantra that they have. So you can definitely talk and try to work with regulators, but unfortunately, they are not necessarily going to be the most cooperative. So you need to budget into your plans of work sufficient cushion in order to deal with those things. If you can successfully, at the end of the day, convince them or not cut corners, but actually move the process quicker, that's to your benefit. But at the end of the day, I think it's important to budget for the long haul, trying to be with an aggressive plan, hoping and praying that regulator A or regulator B is gonna, if the process takes 6 months, gonna cut it to 3. That's not gonna happen.
So I heard until now, before I come to you, Ricardo, CapEx, strategy, planning, also education, educate your customers, and make sure, planning, especially on the regulator and on the government body side. Ricardo, what else would you see? I mean, your books must be full. Sorry, your books must be full, right?
Books are healthy, yes, sir.
Yeah?
Books are healthy. Yeah.
No, just to make sure.
But one thing that we see, I mean, it all ties together, right? So the permits and the cables being late in getting permits and getting built, but the capacity is still there, right? So that's why PC1, we're still having growth and orders, and it's still growing. And PC1 has been around for 23 years and still gaining capacity. And the reason is it's taking longer to build the new cables, and people are not going to wait. So where can I get capacity? It's maybe PC1. It's other cables across the Atlantic that are older, other regional cables in Canada that are older. So that's one thing that we're trying to help from our perspective.
Refurbishing, of course, the older cables.
Exactly.
Better repeaters in there, better software,
yeah.
Stronger, more capacity.
So this is one thing that we're trying to do, so to try to alleviate that pressure. So providing capacity to the existing cables. But when those cables that are taking longer to get permits because you avoid South China Sea, you have to go through Indonesia. And then, oops, Indonesia has a bunch of new laws, right? And you can't land it. And Singapore is busy and it's full. So, but when those things, they converge, and then the customer says, oh, cable's going to be ready in the next few months. Then they come to us and say, oh, Sienna,
hey,
we need your stuff now. Yeah. So what we have been doing, right, from our part, we did suffer, and we talked before about asking forgiveness about things that don't go well with customers. And I'm sure we had some discussions, you and Sienna, about longer lead times than expected during the pandemic. But what we did from our part is really revamp the whole supply chain. We are expanding our manufacturing capabilities. We are now manufacturing in the US because if there's some funding agencies that you need to manufacture locally. So we're doing that. So we're revamping everything to be able to deliver more, faster, right, and closer to where the capacity is needed. So this is something that we learned through a lot of pain, but now we never shipped so much, or we're just having this chat just before we started. We had record-breaking shipments in terms of boxes and volume of kit that we ship.
It's about time.
I mean, right? Come on. And now we're back to normal days of lead times and all that. But on the other side, I mean, we also need to be fast and to be agile, bringing new technologies, because when the cables are ready, they want to do the next generation of modems and SLTs and transponders because they need so much more capacity. So it's twofold, right? You have to invest in how to deliver the stuff that we have on the shelves now, but also what's coming to the shelf the next 18 months. So we got new stuff coming in this year, WaveLogic 6 it's called, more capacity, lower cost per bit. So trying to help all those business cases, but it is really a challenge, right? To be able to do fast and also be innovative. So it's easy to be fast if you're doing the same thing for 20 years. But if you're building everything new every 3 years or so and still be fast, that's where we see the challenge. And that's where we see customers with longer planning cycles, right? The permits and the legal infrastructure helping us to get those deals in place, right? And everything else that goes in between. So we're getting there. I think as an industry, we're making progress. So I think it's looking better than it ever has been in the past few years. So
okay, cool, good to hear that you're catching up and your books are full. So really happy to hear that. You talked about being innovative. One point of being innovative is actually if we look at our carbon footprint and all. I mean, talking about data centers. I mean, in the Netherlands, and I can tell you that a certain town, they said, okay, we will have another huge, OTT data center coming. So you think everybody happy, a lot of new labor coming in, everything. And no, because why? The environmental issue to it. So my question is actually, once, let's say, in this case, a data center or the networks will provide, let's say, or will build a bit more sort of greener, if I may say so. Ulysses, from your point of view, are then permits coming faster, signed off? What's out there?
Absolutely. I think. I mean, obviously, in this administration, particularly this administration that we have, all the government funding that we have for, I mean, that includes a climate element, and there's definitely there's an echo chamber that actually resonates with regulators, and things can move faster. Obviously, if we have a change in administration in the U.S. and we move to another Trump, and I'm not trying to play politics, I'm just trying to play it as it is. It's likely that these issues are going to become less prevalent in the United States. In other places in Latin America and in other places, indeed, the green agenda does help and has helped to provide financing. You have organizations like the World Bank and others trying to fund and actually provide funding for countries in order to do that and have regimes that actually
but that's taken ages.
It is
ages.
It is, but unfortunately,
you want something, but to provide something to support it.
You started by saying carriers are slow. Governments are slower.
No.
That's a problem. That's a problem, right? Unfortunately.
Because you know why, yeah? Because the old operators, they come from the government,
Exactly.
A long time ago. Exactly. I was there, by the way.
Exactly. So actually, it does resonate. I mean, Europe is a paradigm of where things, I mean, the green agenda is much higher.
No, because I mean, there is, I wouldn't say a misunderstanding, but everybody says, yeah, but they use a huge amount of, electricity and whatever. And I said, okay, let's hold on.
Renewables.
No. We know this, and we're working on this one. Also to reuse the cooling, the warmth which come out of, let's say, the cooling, to, let's say, provide, heating for hospitals or schools or whatever. That's one example. But I always say, look into the mirror. What are you doing when you wake up? Not your coffee. The first thing you do is watch on. You're gonna look on your smartphone. And that comes from somewhere, out of a cloud. Yeah. Where is that cloud based? In a data center, hopefully near you, because you want to have that latency, not a latency issue, right? So with high and reliable connectivity. So it is a both way. We need to work on this one. But I'm happy to hear that let's say governments are let's say happy.
They're more attuned. I wouldn't say they have totally agreed to it, but they're much more attuned, and they can be much more helpful in some respects.
Okay. let's move to another subject. And that's, I mean, we're also talking about the peering here. Alejandro, how can peering at the local internet exchange can lead to the improvement of the customer experience from your view?
Well, it's lower latency for the customer. That's an improvement for the customer and also for the OTT. They can get more revenue from it. And from the standpoint of ISP, it's lower cost as well. You don't have to pay transit. So peering, it's local peering. It's something that improves the customer experience and the industry.
And why is it going so slow? Again,
I would say that there is not enough facilities where to do local peering in South America in general. So that's a problem. That's a major problem. Also, there are huge countries where the ISPs are located far away. So the smaller ISP.
talk about Brazil.
Exactly, but you can find the same problem in Colombia, in Argentina, Paraguay, Bolivia. So the ISPs and the populations are concentrated in some areas, but 10% of the eyeballs are located far away in small communities. And how you reach those communities?
And plus, again, investments, are still. I mean, we still need the cables, right?
Yeah.
We still need the sky. We still need the towers. We still need, that kind of fiber. Yeah. Yeah. Well, don't try to build in Paraguay the fiber in the ground. It's a bit. So how do you? I mean, in the US, Justin, your demand is absolutely huge. So how, let's say, take into account a little bit the green aspect if you get these questions from your customers, because I can imagine the requests are coming more and more. Hey, how green are you? Because we have in our policy, in our company policy as an enterprise, let's say Coca-Cola, we have, or McDonald's or whoever, we do have, our sustainability clause in there, which we need to fulfill. How can you help them to reach that?
Yeah, the ESG goals of our customers are important, and we have our own, of course, as a company. And a lot of it from a fiber construction angle comes from our suppliers. We have to buy supplies and materials from parties because at the end of the day, while we may put the fiber in the ground, we're not the ones making the conduit. We're not the ones making the equipment. We're not the ones.
You hear that, Ricardo?
No, and tremendous. I've been a partners just like Ricardo's company in Siena. They have a tremendous track record of being ESG focused, and it matters to us and our ownership and what we do at a board level too, to go, okay, are we just buying from somebody who's the lowest cost supplier, or are we buying from somebody who's going to help us build brand new routes and contribute back to it? And Ulysses talked about it earlier too. There's also a lot of government grants where if so much of your company is spending so much money, whether it's just in the United States or if it's in a different ESG goal, or if it's in a number of factors, that can benefit us on a tax basis. So we do it with a business mind, we do it with an ecological mind, and really right now the world is allowing us to do both at the same time.
But in let's say Latin America, I mean in US and Canada, and okay, to a certain extent in Mexico as well, I can understand. But in Colombia, I don't give a whatever. I just want to have connectivity. If it's green, blue, rosa, whatever, I don't care. How do you? What are the expectations and the demands in for instance South America? How do you see that?
Only 100% green data center in Argentina, so that's a great thing for us. But for example, we had the case in Uruguay. In Uruguay, big data center has been built by Google. Another one has been announced, and they had a huge problem because this year they had a drought in Uruguay where they don't have water, and people were talking that Google were using the water that they supposed to
cool.
Yeah. So that's a big backsplash for Google. Yeah. So,
okay, but I don't see them protesting when they use for the salt mines, whatever in the
Exactly. Yeah.
for the batteries, for the lithium for the batteries, I don't see people then.
It's like the Maslow pyramid. At the beginning, we are in South America. We need connectivity, so we don't care from.
That's what where my question comes from.
So after we had enough connectivity, we are start thinking about from the power that we are using screen from.
And this is actually where a World Bank could come in by saying, hey, governments, you know what? If you want, we understand that in, let's say, the more rural areas, rather than, let's say, the Europe, the Middle East, and the Northern American hemisphere, that in the other parts, Africa, Asia, South America, maybe, you know what, we are there to help you. Easy, normal, quick processes. If you need money to invest, because put a data center in there, which costs you, let's say, 30 million, 40 million, whatever, depends the size, of course. But you know what? If you make it 45, your carbon fiber is sort of proofish or whatever.
That would be ideal. I mean, it's not only like going down.
Call me for the ideas.
No, I mean, not going to the development scale that let's start walking and then running, right? If you can start running, I mean, obviously, even the cost is going to be slightly higher, but at the end of the day, you're going to end up with a better product, and you're going to be fulfilling a number of roles. And the World Bank and other, I mean, the IDB in Latin America could be very good sources for that if they were to deploy to connectivity. They have deployed in submarine cables, but in data centers, I think that would be the next thing.
Yeah. Okay. No, because Alejandro, I mean, the IXs, I mean, I'm not saying that they're exploding in South America, but there is a huge amount of growth and demand coming. Where's that actually coming from? I mean, you could say it's the logic things, the TikToks and whatever, but where do you see as an expert? Where do you see the growth coming from?
In Latin America specifically, it's because we had 2 or 3 big dominant carriers who had 80% of the eyeballs, but the 20% of the eyeballs are managed by 1,000 small ISPs, and those are the ones that use the IX. It's something that doesn't happen in Europe or in the US.
So there's the confirmation that the operators are a bit slow, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, we are an elephant, but we are trying to learn to dance.
I'm not badging you. I mean, I know you're from Telecom Argentina,
yeah.
but I mean, it has been an educative. You learn from those guys because they are agile. They know what's out there.
Yeah.
If I don't have the money, I need to be efficient. I need to be, smart. So where is that growth coming from? From those guys? What else?
I would say that from those guys, also the dominant operators like ourselves, we like IX because it gives us diversity as well.
Yeah.
So actually, I was one of the promoters of bringing a secondary IX into Argentina because I believe that it will improve the connectivity of Argentina. And it was a big soul internally. It took me months to get the internal acceptance to keep a space in our data center to a new IX.
So. All right, cool. Okay, guys, we're in Miami, right? Are we? We're in Miami, right? So, and I think it's actually quite, a nice hub. So, Ricardo, if I may start with you, the importance of Miami as a strategic submarine connecting global hub. What are the key things? Well, why is, I know we have the sexy fish here, but why is Miami so sexy?
Yeah, I think Miami is and will continue to be for many years the destination for everything Cala. And the reason is because once upon a time, you had something called NEP of the Americas, right? It's a big name. To connect between Brazil and Argentina, probably you had to come to the NEP of the Americas to go back. So today, that's Equinix. We have many more data centers in region, right? And other operators are here providing more connectivity. But still, because of that history of many years, that's going to continue to be. But that doesn't mean that there's no space for other hubs, right? And we see the need in the market for alternative hubs. If you look at Asia, right now, Japan is becoming, again, another important hub because it's so hard to go to Singapore because it's busy, Indonesia, so you see those hubs shifting now. Maybe next one is going to be, I don't know, Philippines or Taiwan. Taiwan's too close to China, so maybe not. So there's all of that. So if you go back to our backyard, so we see maybe Panama becoming a hub. So there are new cables coming there. We saw announcements a few weeks ago of new cables landing there. The issue with Panama is that there are not enough eyeballs to justify the OTTs going and building data centers, but there is enough connectivity. So maybe that's one. Another one that we're seeing becoming really a hub in the US is Myrtle Beach, right? So, and Myrtle Beach is because of content providers are landing there with DC blocks. And you could think, oh, this is taken away from Miami. But if you look,
It's
DC
an
blocks,
add-on. It's an add-on.
because it connects to Atlanta, Atlanta is connected to Miami. So it's one alternative route, right? And we have at least 2 cables landing there, maybe a third that is not announced with another of the content providers. So, and then you look at, oh, maybe they're taken away from Virginia Beach. But it also goes to Ashburn, where we're talking about the big buildings with no windows, mysterious buildings. So it adds to the ecosystem. So yes, Miami still will continue to be the hub, but I think the industry needs and is starting to have options, because you want to have diversity. If there's a hurricane and cuts several cables in Miami, we're out. There's no plan B for subsea cables. So having alternatives going to north and south. So I think it's helping the industry, but still it's going to take a while, an investment and effort for that to take away from Miami. But I think now we're still adding to it. So more and more Miami will be the central hub with, let's say, satellite hubs around it for the whole of Latin America.
Okay. All righty. Takahiro, I mean, you're more West Coast, right? So you're gonna fight those guys on Miami, or
Not really. Well, when it comes to Florida, you know, you have 122 data centers and 35 are in Miami, and there are several only a few cable which lands from Latin America to out of Florida, and the you know, East Coast and West Coast. I don't see kind of fight competition for the hub. When it comes to Asia, I can talk forever. But
I'm gonna stop you right now.
right. So I just stop here, but I don't see East Coast, West Coast competition from my perspective.
Okay, Ulysses.
I just want to add, I think, I mean, obviously we have new cables going. I mean, we have going to Chile on the, I mean, we have some Panama has been used as a crossing to go back to Miami, but I have seen, I mean, new projects that actually go across all the way to LA or all the way to Oregon and do not cross through Panama. And I do see the potential for connections to South America on both ends, not necessarily only on the east. I do see LA becoming Mexico actually is trying to position itself as a place for landing of cable, because no team telecom, no national security reviews. Cables can be done quicker. So that's something. And then you can glass through on the border very quickly from Ensenada all the way to San Diego in 5 minutes. Yeah. Canada, the same thing. Topaz. Yeah. I mean, Topaz from Google goes to Canada.
Justin.
No, and I would tend to agree with that. I think we're going to see more and more right on the border cities, Vancouver, what we're seeing with Topaz, what you're seeing in Mexico, and everybody talking about that. And I think Team Telecom is going to have to understand it's coming back to the United States one way or another. So we might as well understand what's coming. And then going back to the East Coast, you know, we're seeing that same driving force. You know, what we've seen on the West historically with landing stations in LA, going to Grover Beach, going up the coast, we're seeing that same ladder effect just now happening on the East Coast. For whatever reason, the East Coast has just taken longer to really develop that. You know, we always had landings in New York. We had landings in Massachusetts for going to Europe. We had, of course, Miami going to Latin America, but nothing really in the middle. Norfolk helped get that off. Myrtle Beach now getting that off. And now we're even starting to build the infrastructure on the inside where, you know, our new route we're lighting with Sienna's equipment help people get from these landing stations, both Norfolk, Myrtle Beach, Atlanta, Jacksonville, Miami, and we're building all of that back to our backbone to get people to Ashburn, New York, and so forth and so on, so they can now continue to intercept all the way from Canada all the way down to Miami, and allowing them to interconnect that entire ecosystem, getting on and off whichever cables you need to. As people build future branching units off of these cables, you'll be able to route your network as you want and as you desire.
But you Takahiro?
Okay.
Here comes the West Coast again.
Yes, West Coast. But the you know, national security point, yes, you know, it is coming back. But within the US, there's its own challenges. This is the first time that I speak of this. It is about marine sanctuary project, which might jeopardize the new cable landing or maintenance of the existing cables. And we have some challenges because NOAA is planning a marine sanctuary project. Then you know, if it passes, then you know, there's no guarantee that the existing operators will not be jeopardized of the maintenance because we may need additional permitting in conducting activities there. So that's another challenge that the U.S. Is currently having. So national security wise, yes, it's coming back, but within the U.S. there's a problem.
No, I mean, and we're talking about Miami as you know, one of the big hubs. On the other hand, it's also because the demand, you know, from Latin and from South America. And is that actually a good thing, or shouldn't it be that the content should be? I mean, what is it? 88%, you know, which is not a good thing. In actual fact, I mean, in Europe we have the same thing. You know, in Africa, 98% of the traffic, you know, from we would be together in, let's say, in Ghana, you know, my message goes up and goes down again. Now, where's the environmental, you know, benefit there? It's not, right? So isn't it actually true that we should have, and maybe for you, Alejandro, to comment on this one, that actually we should have, let's say, more, I mean, on the soccer content in Brazil and Argentina, I can imagine that's not an issue, but for the rest, it you know, it should more be there, local, let's say local, you know, rather than, you know, just pulling it down.
Yeah, nowadays I would say that tendency has changed. I would say that
it's about time.
It's we are seeing that 92% of our traffic stays locally in our peering community, stays in Buenos Aires. The other 5% goes to São Paulo, maybe Santiago, and the rest goes to Miami. So Miami is losing their shining as a hub of connectivity. I believe that is pushing the connectivity down further, at least in South America, to São Paulo. Bogota is coming huge as well as Santiago. So
okay, so you see a changing trend there, already coming in. All right, okay, good. Okay, guys, in the Americas, talking about the subject, what are more challenges that we see or that we need to overcome to make sure that we increase the customer experience overall? Who wants to get that? What's needed? What are we missing? Anything?
I think it's just further cooperation within the Americas to help, like you're talking about, and Alejandro was talking about, keeping that traffic localized too, I think is important to help everybody just speed to market, helping everybody grow and continue to grow, and, you know, cooperate on, look, there's enough pie and enough customers for all of us to continue to grow and meet demand sets. And if we can do that collaboratively, I think there's a lot to win.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else?
Fiber. More of it terrestrial, not submarine, terrestrial fiber.
But that's a huge problem in Latin America. The regulatory issues and agreements between the Latin American countries are pretty difficult to work on. They prefer to do agreements with the US or Spain, but not intra-regional kind of agreement.
We share a language, we share traditions, we share religion, we share a lot of things, but we don't cooperate with one another. That's just a reality of the market.
And how simple could it be, guys? I mean, you just compare it. You just pointed exactly the right thing. You all speak Spanish, Portuguese, and English, right? So then I cover, what is it? Maybe not in the Andes everywhere, you know, on the little town, but the dialect. But for the rest, I can talk within 2-3 languages all over 2 continents, right? How easy should it be, right? Or how difficult, you know? And looking about Europe and Africa, don't even start. Don't even talk about Europe, because there are a zillion languages and we don't get it together anyway. So let alone, you know, even with Africa, right? So, but we had a question from a gentleman.
That you're facing. You talked about data demand. You're talking about political geopolitics. What's going on with the pricing strategy? How are you looking at or reflecting that in your pricing strategy to your customers?
Okay, pricing strategy, guys. Thank you, first of all, Eugene, for my thank you for your question. Who wants to take that question? Yep. Please,
Say
Alejandro.
what I heard from internally from our pricing team and also externally from our customers. They said that our customers said that we are too expensive compared with the US cost. We should be
They
cheaper,
always
yeah.
start nagging about
And
price.
our internal pricing team said to me that we are selling too cheap and they don't want to commit the capex to do things. So it's it's a difficult thing. And especially in top of that, in Latin America, we had something that in Europe and in US you don't have, which is economic crisis and forex big swings in the exchange rates. For example, in Argentina, I'm not even talking Argentina or Venezuela. I'm talking in you had the same case in Colombia, in Chile, in Brazil, big swings of exchange rate that affects the cost and also the pricing. So something that all our countries, and I would say that not all our contracts, and I would say that in Latin America it's more or less the same thing, except in Brazil in some cases are nominated in US dollars. It's the only way. So you had local contracts nominated in US dollars. It's the only way to hedge against the exchange rates.
Just a nice anecdote about the 140% inflation, in Argentina. The same thing is for me. Yesterday, I ordered a Negroni, $30. So last year it was 20. So, here you go. In the US, we have exactly the same thing. So thank you for your question, Eugene. Well, guys, Justin, you quickly talked about, partnering with your customers. I wanted to tip on that one as well. How important, and you mentioned it already, but from the other gentlemen, can you give me, let's say, examples where you can say, accept, planning and accept CapEx and accept, making sure that I can, get my licenses, quickly and done. And my strategy is the partnering, as Justin mentioned, is one of the key elements where you educate your customers and you make sure that you say, hey, you know what, with your business model, this is going to happen, not only in the market, but with you as well. And maybe you don't know it yet, but wake up and we are there to hold your hand. So partnership. So what examples, and maybe Takahiro, you can start, where you can give us an example of partnership where where the outcome is that because of the partnership, it was so important not only to get that customer and to get that revenue and margin in, but also to make sure that you have a happy customer.
All right. Once again, that depends on the kind of early planning, and we need to have ample time to kind of modify, start early. And if things go wrong, you need to have it's not an ample time, but you need some time to kind of quickly change the action plan. Well, that applies to, say, US, Japan case. If it's in Asia, I mean, even if we think that we are doing well with regulators, they might change the opinion on the following day. That actually happens. So that's a wild card. But anyway, start early, plan ahead, collaborate where you can, but that's not 100% guaranteed. That's what it is.
Okay, so are you saying that partnerships or partnering is not always the easy road to go?
That's necessary, but it's not 100%.
Okay. Ricardo, I mean, your books are full. You deliver on the spot now.
We do, yeah, and that's a good thing. So, no, but as far as partnering, what we try and do, right, and I do mostly with subsea cables, so they by nature they're longer timelines, right, to execute and even to plan. So some of the customers that are here today, I mean, we've been talking to them for 5 years, 6 years, and last year they announced, and now they're building. So it's that far ahead. So it doesn't mean that because of us they're building, but throughout that process and along the way, we have been helping them with price points, industry relationships. So a cable lands in Myrtle Beach. So who do you go to get a backhaul? So we know those customers, right? By the way, go to Mox. But we try and help with those things as well. So it's not just here's my kit, here's my price, pay me now. It's really, how do we get your business case to be successful by helping you along the way with planning, with relationships, and overall guiding you so you can be successful. Because if your project doesn't go forward, I don't sell anything. So that's how we see partnering, and
you better engage.
yeah,
You better engage.
as early as we can. And many of those, they don't get to the contracting force, and that's okay. That's part of the deal, right? So we spread our efforts, and sometimes the customers will go forward and be successful. Others, some cables are being talked about for 10 years. Maybe they'll come, maybe they'll not, but still we're working with them through that time. So when they're ready, we're there for them. So this is how we see the partnership happening for us.
Okay. Now, Ulysses, Morgan Lewis, I mean, you're heading the as a partner, the telco part in the telco industry. But if you hear us talking like this, well, what do you hear from your other partners about other, let's say, industries? How are we moving? Are we, well, what are some characteristics that you say, hey guys, you should speed up a little bit, or, you know, they found solutions, you know, they had similar challenges, but they found actually this solution, or they, you know, adopted quicker, or they, you know,
I think,
what's the difference?
I think probably life sciences in terms of drug, I mean, development of drugs, etc. I think they also have fairly lengthy, I mean, they actually provide big benefits like technology does, or like telecom does. They have significant roadblocks with clinical trials. They do have, but there's much more collaboration between labs. I think that what I'm missing, or what we don't have as much in the telecom industries, that much collaboration. I think there's much more in other industries. I mean, in the life sciences being one, where there's a lot more playing with one another, not guarding their IP. It's not sharing the IP, but at the end of the day, they collaborate more than what we do in our industry.
I hope that next year we can say lesson learned. Let's see. Okay, gentlemen. I mean, lunch is coming up, and otherwise Aurelia will kick my butt as always. So, a closing round, Alejandro. What can you share with the audience? What should we look out for? What's your glass ball prediction? With the microphone, please.
Well, I would say it's something that I learned from watching the Kung Fu series when I was young.
That was David Carradine. You know,
he said that in one of the episodes, he said, expect the unexpected. So we are ready for that. We are seeing that the growth in this industry has been by burst. First, we had the cloud craziness about 2-3 years ago. Then we are riding the AI, and we are seeing the LEO satellite as well as the next wave, who are going to demand regional data centers, smallest one place to go. So we are riding I'm waiting the next wave.
Okay, cool. Takehiro?
Well, I would say that from 12 months from now, whatever may happen, but we need to kind of keep on moving on. Agility matters, and that's and plan ahead. That's what I learned here, and what I think I would agree. Thank you.
I will tell you what will happen in 12 months. Indonesia will open up. Trust me. I'll put a bet on this one. Drinks are on me or on you. Yes.
What I would say is be prepared for more geopolitics, more division. And unfortunately, we may end up, as I said before, probably with potential balkanization. And we may need for companies or countries like Latin America, who have investments from China or have investments from America, they may need to pick sides. That's what I'm seeing in the next few years.
Or they are forced to pick sides, right? Ricardo, positive, please.
Yeah, okay. So what we see, I mean, we're talking here a lot about generative AI, right? So it's ChatGPT and Genesis now, or Gemini with Google. So it's coming, right? So, and it's very hard for us to gauge how impactful this is going to be for networks. But what we see, that this is becoming something that at some point it will have to be monetized, right? So they're putting out there, they're spending millions of dollars in R&D for that. So at the moment they start to make money out of that, and that starts to get out of the data center into the networks, into the edge data centers and beyond, I think we're going to see something happening for networks. So, and we're getting ready for that, but it's very unpredictable at the moment. I tried asking ChatGPT, he couldn't tell me what's going to happen in the next few years with AI. but still it's going to be something that's going to change a lot. So we got to be agile, we got to be prepared. But I think that's going to be the next big thing. Monetizing AI out of the data center. So how? No idea, but I think it's going to be big. So 12 months, we'll check again 12 months. Let's see what happens.
We'll do that. Last famous words, Justin, over to you.
I think we're going to see a lot of network beginning to get chewed up even more. And already, specifically in the United States and across the world, we've run out of a lot of glass. There's very little net dark fiber available. And if we're not out there actively building fiber, like Ulysses also said earlier, we're going to be out of it, and we can't support the continual growth of the next technology wave, whether it's AI, ML, or the next thing. So if we can't build this underlying infrastructure for what we all know to be the fourth utility, we can't support all the fun stuff over top. So it's really, to me, going to be this amazing United States and worldwide global infrastructure construction project, where if we're willing to dig the ditches and put the new pipes in the ground, we can support this next wave of amazing things that can be done over top of it. But if we can't get out of our own way to do that, we're going to stifle our own growth.
Oops.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. And with those words, guys, I would like to thank, first of all, the audience for being here. Thank you for your question, Eugene, as always. Fantastic. Thank you so much. I would like to thank Alejandro, Takahiro, Ulysses, Ricardo, and Justin for being here. We're going to close now because everybody's hungry, probably, right? And lunch is being served, I think, as we speak. Okay, so for me, time to shut up. So thank you very much, gentlemen, for being here. It has been an honor having with you and talking a little bit about the industry, what's going on, what are the challenges and the opportunities. So I hope you learned something about it, and I'll see you after lunch around 3:30-ish for our next next panel session. So thank you so much, and have fun.